I am Alyssa Taylor Stewart, Administrator in the Office of Equity, Engagement, and Partnerships, and I'd like to welcome you to Parent Connection. Tonight, Dr. Jill Baker and Math Department curriculum leaders Becky Afghani and Lisa Dugan will share detailed information about mathematics, acceleration, and support, focusing on LBUSD's high-quality math instruction provided to our students. As you listen to tonight's presentation, I encourage you to ask questions or share comments using the link in the YouTube video frame. If your question is not answered tonight, please be assured that someone from our team will respond to you this week. So please remember to include your contact information when sharing your question. Before we begin our presentation, Amy Love, our social emotional wellness coach, will guide us through some ways to think about tonight's topic and get us ready for the learning tonight. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks, Alyssa. It's great to be here with you, Long Beach family. I'm so happy to get to share this time with you this evening. I'm also feeling really curious about this evening's topic, which is math. You know, over the years, I've personally seen my own relationship with math shift from one of complete anxiety and frustration to one of more spaciousness and ease. And I wonder what your relationship to math is like as adults and parents and caregivers who work in partnership with us to support our developing mathematicians. So let's do a little experiment together. I'm going to say a few words, and I want you to notice what happens for you when I say them. So get completely comfortable wherever you are, and just listen to what I say, and listen to how your body responds. Ready? The first word is math. Geometry. Algebra. Calculus. Statistics. Trigonometry. I wonder if you noticed any changes in how your body feels after reflecting on those words or even just hearing them. If you felt some excitement and curiosity, then you're not alone. And if you felt some nervousness or anxiety rise, you are also not alone. In fact, Dr. Joe Bowler, who's a professor of mathematics at Stanford University and authored a popular book that's called What's Math Got to Do with It, conducted research that indicates that up to 50% of us experience some form of math anxiety in our lifetime. And so because so many of us have experienced some form of math anxiety, I bet you know exactly what it looks like for yourself and for your children. You know, math anxiety can look like fidgeting when it's time for math. Sometimes it looks like avoidance or giving up before even starting. Sometimes it shows up as stomach aches or headaches, and it shows up in tears too. I wonder if you can relate to that as parents and caregivers. You know, my kids are in their 20s now, but I still remember some pretty intense homework sessions at the kitchen table when my kids were in high school and they struggled with some of their math problems and that feeling of not being able to help them because their math was more advanced than the math I had taken. One of the most impactful and harmful ways that math anxiety can show up is in negative self-talk, like saying things like, I'm not a math person, or I'm bad at math, or math's not my thing. None of these statements are true for any of us. We're all math people. And I think that's a theme you're going to hear over the course of this evening. We're all math people, no matter where we come from or who we are. We all engage with math every day, which makes us math people. In the brain, math anxiety is experienced like all other anxieties. When we experience anxiety in the forms of tension, frustration, fear, or shame, our brains go into our natural freeze, fight, or flight response. And when this happens, there are things in the brain, changes in the brain, in fact, that limit our access to the parts of the brain responsible for higher order thinking and our working memory, two of the things that we need most in order to do well in math. So if you've ever had that experience of studying hard for a test, but you're feeling anxious when you sat down to take the test, and all of a sudden your brain went blank, that's the impact that anxiety can have on our ability to think clearly. The good news is that we have strategies that we can use to support us. One thing we can do is to incorporate a bit of light exercise before math time, or even add a short break in the middle of math time to stretch and move our bodies. Light movement can help us stay relaxed and energized. Another thing we can do is to make the math experience fun and relevant. And our kids will engage in any content more fully when they get to experience joy and when they understand how the learning will impact their lives, both inside and outside of the school setting. We can also work to boost our kids' confidence in math when we help them see themselves as mathematicians or as math magicians, as my first graders used to say. And we can do this by erasing from our vocabularies those phrases, I'm not a math person. As adults, parents and caregivers, when we don't show confidence, it makes it hard for our kids to believe that they can achieve. So instead of saying, I'm not a math person, we can say things like, this is challenging, or I've got to give this my full attention. Mindfulness also has a scientifically proven powerful impact on anxiety, math anxiety included. So before I hand you off to our math experts who are in the house tonight, I'm really excited about this. I want to leave you with a strategy that we introduced to our teachers this summer during our Equity Institute. And the strategy is called STOP. I think we have a slide that we can share so that you can see this strategy. It's called the Mindful Stop, and it's an acronym. The S in the STOP acronym means to stop, to pause, gift yourself a moment of time to reflect on what's happening for you. Keeping in mind that if you're feeling frustration, there it goes. Thank you. If you're feeling some frustration, that some frustration is good for us. Some frustration actually can motivate us and get us excited. We want to stop and pause when we feel that frustration is approaching a level where it's negatively impacting our focus. We know our kids and we can tell when that's happening. Then the T in that acronym is an invitation to take a couple of deep breaths. And those breaths can help create some space and signal the body to relax. And then next comes the O in the STOP acronym, and this stands for observe. So by this point, we've paused, we've relaxed, and now we can check out what's happening for ourselves and think about what we need. Do we need a break? Do we need to ask for help? Do we need some positive self-talk? Do we need a set of manipulatives or tools that will help us with this math problem? And then the P is that we proceed with that plan, looking for those things and advocating for those things that we need. And we go forward with kindness for ourselves and each other. So I'm challenging us all to use this mindful stop strategy. It can be applied to almost anything in life, math included. And I'm so grateful to get to share that strategy with you. And I'm going to hand it back to maybe Alyssa. I'm not quite sure, but thanks for having me. Take good care.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for being here as always. And thank you for those very, very valuable reminders, especially the reminder that we are all math people. So thank you so much. I just want to remind our guests in YouTube land to please use the link to share your questions, any comments about the presentation as we move forward. And now I'd like to introduce our very own Dr. Jill Baker. Welcome, Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Alyssa. Welcome, everyone. What a wonderful opportunity to have Amy Love with us. I know I feel calmer and ready to talk about math than I did before she came on. I also love that tool. And so one of the things about the Superintendent Parent Connection is we want you to leave with tools and questions that you can use in your work with your students at home and also in your interactions with the school. And so Amy shared with you the STOP, S-T-O-P, a tool that teachers at the school schools are familiar with from training that we held last summer, and also something that you can use in your home. So great first tool for this evening. So as I get started, first of all, I want to say happy Black History Month that we are celebrating in Long Beach Unified School District, and then just share a few things about COVID and our response in schools. You might remember January 11th was our last parent connection. It was a really hard time in Long Beach Unified School District and in our community. Well, I'm pleased to say that our mitigation efforts and all the ways that families and our school staff came together, we are in a much better place today as we have our February parent connection. We had great support from the City of Long Beach, Health and Human Services. They continue to operate a testing clinic over near Cabrillo High School, where students and staff can access COVID tests to ensure that they are safe and do not have COVID before they come into our school buildings. And that continues, that partnership continues. And while our numbers of COVID are significantly down in the community, I'm happy to say that our attendance has risen greatly and dramatically. Students are back in school, and we have a normal number of teacher absences occurring right now, which means that we're getting healthier and healthier as we go into the month of February. You may have heard yesterday that the governor made announcements about the relaxing of restrictions across the state of California. More to come on that. That announcement doesn't immediately reflect changes in our schools. So we are waiting for the California Department of Public Health and our local Health and Human Services Department to make changes in our restrictions for schools. We anticipate some relaxing of those restrictions, and as soon as we have that information, we will share it with those of you who have your children in our schools and who care so much about our community. So more to come in the days ahead. Before I introduce the team that's here to share with you tonight, I just want to, for those of you who might be new, always take a moment to revisit our purpose and to just say a few things about expectations for this evening. And so the Superintendent Parent Connection has a few different purposes. The first is human connection, and we are so looking forward. Hopefully our next session will be in person, but to have that human connection to those of us who work on behalf of your children in the district and have a direct connection. Also to provide information that you can access through the presentation or after the presentation that's a connection to all of our schools and to our district office. And then to have two-way communication. So tonight you have that link that you can use to ask questions or to give feedback as part of our continuous improvement efforts, and also a way to communicate with us. In the future, we look forward to being able to have an in-person conversation. There are some assumptions that I want you to know. If you're new to this space, or even if you're just returning, that these assumptions reflect the way I think about the parent connection, that you are your child's first teacher. Caregivers and parents and family members who have children who live in the home, you are their first teacher. And we want to absolutely reflect that in what we do and respect that. We know that you want your children to have a great school experience that has high expectations and also care. And I love starting off with mindfulness and thinking about the way that we're trying to care for students in our classroom, in addition to tonight talking about mathematics. We believe, and I personally believe, that students' lives are enhanced as you are involved in them. And so I'm so glad that so many of you are here tonight, and thankful for those who will access this video even after tonight. And then lastly, a homeschool connection fostered by teachers and school staff positively contributes to student success. I don't take that for granted, and that's something that we need to continually work at and work to improve across our schools and at the district office. So the parent connection this year, this is a constant. The parent connection is focused on providing information about our learning acceleration and support plan. That's a very important plan to us as we continue to stretch and to meet the needs of our students coming out of the worst part of the pandemic. It's also a connection, as I've said, for resources and for you to have information that you can take back to your schools. And it's part of our communication and community engagement strategy this year. So this is repeat information if you've been here before, and if you're new, the focus will continue to be in these three areas as we navigate through the rest of the year. So tonight you're going to hear another aspect of our learning acceleration and support plan. An important part of that plan is ensuring that we're thinking about the core classroom experience for all of our students. So when Becky and Lisa talk about math instruction, they're talking about support to teachers so that every classroom that has math instruction in it has a core classroom experience that meets the needs of all students. They're also going to share the difference between acceleration and remediation, or acceleration and intervention, and share with you what that actually looks like in the content area of math. And then some ways to support student well-being as part of the work. Tonight, we're not talking about school infrastructure, but that is part of our learning acceleration and support plan. You can access this on our district website, the entire learning acceleration and support plan, just by a couple of clicks. So on the left-hand side, that's the front of our web page. There's one click for learning acceleration plan, where that first arrow is on the left-hand side. And then when you get to that page in 3 languages, you can find the entire learning acceleration and support plan. That plan is based on 4 pillars. Tonight, you're going to hear a lot about pillar 1 with a few things related to pillar 2, social emotional well-being. In fact, that's where we started. We started with Amy Love sharing a mindful strategy and talking about social emotional well-being in the context of mathematics. And so I have the pleasure tonight of introducing first our Assistant Superintendent of the Office of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development. That is a big department in the Long Beach Unified School District that has lots of good work that takes place each and every day. And one of the primary things that they are responsible for is building the capacity of teachers, nurturing teachers from first-year teachers all the way through veteran teachers. It's the department that has the role of developing curriculum and resources. And so tonight I get to first introduce Dr. Christy Kale, who will then introduce her math experts who are here to participate in this evening's session. So Dr. Kale, thank you for being here with us this evening.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Baker, and good evening, everybody who's watching. I feel very grateful to be here tonight to introduce to you 2 extremely knowledgeable and dedicated leaders. So I think you can see them. So Lisa Dugan, could you give a little wave? This is Lisa Dugan. She is our elementary math curriculum leader. It means she works with grades TK through 5. And Becky Afghani, would you give a little wave, please? There you go. Becky Afghani is our secondary math curriculum leader, meaning she works with grades 6 through 12. When I say curriculum leader, what I mean is they work on everything that has to do with the curriculum, the teaching or instructional strategies, and the professional development, so the support that we provide teachers for mathematics. They both lead a small team of coaches, and those coaches work under their direction to provide all sorts of really important documents for our teachers so that we really have a viable curriculum and that we know that what's happening from classroom to classroom has some consistency. I want you to know that they spend a good portion of their time supporting teachers, providing them with new content, new information, new ways of teaching, and they help them as needed in a variety of ways through in-class coaching, workshops, etc. And they also design and write all of our district assessments so that we can keep track of student progress in math. And just on a more personal note, I'm a former English teacher, and many years ago, I did not consider myself a math person. But then I spent a lot of time with Becky Afghani through a project, and I discovered that I actually am a math person, and I'm actually really good at it. And that's something that I learned from Becky. So I can't wait for you all to learn from them tonight. And so I'm going to stop talking so that you can get some more in-depth information around learning acceleration from a math perspective. So I believe I'm turning it over to you, Lisa, correct? Nope, Becky's going first. All right, great.
It was such a sweet introduction. Thank you for that, Christy. So I get to start us off. We're going to share this evening 4 things that Lisa and I will be addressing. First, we will describe how our district is providing acceleration rather than remediation in math through high quality instruction. We'll describe the district approach to mathematics, both at the elementary level, where I'll hand it over to Lisa Dugan, and I will describe secondary math. We will describe some course offerings and sequencing at the middle and high school levels. And finally, we'll provide some suggestions for how you might support your child or children with math in a couple of ways, and has been mentioned a whole bunch of times already. The most important is to help your child or children see themselves as a math person and build a positive math identity. And second, how you can help your child specifically while they might be doing math or struggling with math. Okay. So the next screen you'll see, if you attended Dr. Jill Baker's last presentation, her last parent connection, she shared this exact same slide, and our district follows some research related to acceleration versus remediation. In fact, that led to some of the titling of that learning and acceleration support plan. This screen at the very top, you will have access to the slides. You can click and read the report. And this report really described the difference between acceleration versus remediation, and found that the best approach to catch students who are maybe a little behind from the pandemic is to accelerate them, and in my words, move them forward, rather than remediate, which very informally might move students back. Research shows we need to stay on grade level as much as possible and provide supports for students when they're needed. And we'll describe more of our approach to acceleration as we move on, because we're really going to feature a lot of what's in the bottom 2 rows of that table in a number of slides. Okay, so high quality instruction in math is really what we're defining acceleration as. And that will be comprised of 3 things. So first, grade level appropriate content, right? For example, we want to see most of the time in students learning in class to be focused on grade level content. For example, it wouldn't be appropriate to see students spending a significant amount of time in a 6th grade class adding, subtracting, and multiplying and dividing whole numbers, since that's elementary school content. Another example, it wouldn't be appropriate to start a high school class like Algebra 2 with a review of the entire Algebra 1 course. If we were to spend the majority of our time with below grade level instruction, we could never catch students up. Okay, the second big component to high quality instruction in math is to provide just-in-time support for students when we determine that they need it. Right? This means it is going to take a little bit longer to teach math topics than pre-pandemic. And our office has provided some guidance to all schools about the sequencing of content and how long they should spend on topics. So we've built in more time for teachers and students to spend on the most important content in every grade level and course. And then we've identified lessons that can be combined or skipped. The third aspect to high quality instruction in math is balance. And we're going to talk quite a bit about this. There really are 3 parts to high quality math instruction we want to emphasize. First is a focus on procedural skills and fluency. And I'm sure when you think about math, you think about procedural skills and fluency. You know that we're teaching students to multiply, say in the third grade, add, subtract, multi-digit numbers. And at the higher levels, we want students to be fluent with solving equations, for example. But math should be so much more than that. And a lot of anxiety that people have about mathematics stems from the belief that math is really only about procedural skills and fluency. So in addition to that, we need to make sure that we are teaching students some conceptual understanding related to mathematics, or to why these procedures work. If students are spending the bulk of their time only in procedures, they mix them up. Right? If you move the decimal 2 places to the left, do you add a 0? Do I multiply diagonally? When all we do is procedures, they can't remember why the procedures work. So that second feature is conceptual understanding of why procedures work. The third thing we want to make sure we're spending a sufficient amount of time on in classrooms is really an understanding of how the math that they're learning in class can be used to solve real world problems. If we can't send our kids out into the real world using the math we teach in school, then we have failed them. And one more piece, describing high quality instruction in mathematics. Our state math standards actually have 2 parts to them. The first part, most people are very familiar with. That describes what math students should learn at every grade level. For example, students multiply in the 3rd grade, like I said. The second part of our standards address what are called math practices. These are the habits of mind that we want all of our students to leave K-12 math education with. I'll talk about a couple of these math practices with some detail, and I want you to think about how you use these skills in your own life and at home and at work, potentially. All right, the first one, that's an easy one. We want students to be able to make sense of problems and to persevere in solving them. I'm sure you want that in an employee, right? In a child, in a spouse. You don't want someone who gives up easily or is easily frustrated. Another one that I like to gravitate toward is using tools strategically, right? Choosing what will help you to solve a problem. Just like your plumber comes with a bunch of tools and you expect that he or she, right, can reach into that toolkit or toolbox and find out what the best tool is to solve a problem. In mathematics, students have a bunch of tools available to them as well. They might have a ruler, a calculator. They could make a drawing or a sketch. They could use a table. They could look at a graph, right? And we want our students to be able to choose from those tools and pick the one that will help them to solve a problem. Last one I'll talk about on this page, attending to precision, right? This involves precision with language as well as precision with calculations. It's obvious that precision with calculations is important. For example, you might recall that there was a Mars orbiter spacecraft that burned up in the orbit of Mars, and that was because of a failure to convert from miles to kilometers. Can you imagine? $125 million it cost our government. But precision in language is also just as important. And we want kids to use mathematical language and not to rely on tricks. For example, that symbol that the alligator eats the bigger number, that's called a less than symbol. And we want students to be able to effectively communicate mathematics to each other and to their parents and to the teachers, and to be better communicators, because you know that effective communication and precision in language will help them with a variety of careers. Okay, with that, I get to hand over to Lisa Dugan, who will talk to us about our approach to elementary school mathematics.
Thank you, Becky. So let's talk a little bit about elementary and early learning in math. So as Becky mentioned, the first 3 bullets on this page, these indicate that acceleration is happening rather than remediation. So we can think of remediation as often involves like an overemphasis on skills without the application or the understanding. So the balanced instruction is one of the keys to acceleration and moving our students' learning forward. So high quality math instruction in both the whole class instruction or in the small group time for students really works on making connections between the skills, demonstrating the conceptual understanding, and then applying this understanding to real world situations. So let's take a look at an example. So this is a 5th grade example. And you'll see here that we've got, okay, just a minute. There we go. All right, so we've got procedural skills and fluency. That might look very familiar to some of us. We have conceptual understanding and application. So in 5th grade, the standard actually says, in previous grades, students built a conceptual understanding of multiplication and applied multiplication strategies to compute and solve real-world situations. Students can continue to use different efficient strategies and be able to use the standard algorithm. So that importance of the balance of instruction, the balance of skills to conceptual understanding to application is called out in our standards. So that's why it's very important that we have that in our instruction. So let's take a minute and kind of dive into this conceptual understanding and see if we can make some sense. This is telling us why these steps happen in multiplication. We want our kids to have a deeper understanding of those steps. So this is an area model. And in this area model, we've broken numbers apart into what we might term in elementary as friendlier numbers. We like to multiply by 10s and by 5s. And so when I look at this, I'm thinking, I know that I broke apart my 25 into 20 and 5. We broke apart the 13 into 10 and 3. Okay, now I've got some numbers I can work with. So if I know 5 and 3 is 15. Then I look at my 20 and I multiply my 20 by my 3 and I get 60. And I put those together and I get 75. And you can see the 75 in that standard algorithm. That's that first step. But you think about, why do we put that 0 there? So we teach the kids, if just procedure, we just tell them to put the 0 there. We want to understand why we put the 0 there. So in that next layer, we're actually thinking that that is 5 times 10, which is why we get 50. Then we're going to multiply the 20 times 10 to get our 200. And together that is 250. So it helps us to understand that step of why that 0 is there. And together we have 325. This model of the area model is something that will carry them through all the way into algebra. So learning that and that visualization, being able to show that a representation or a model of our understanding helps us support us in case we forget that step. In case that memorization, sometimes we have to think about, what was that again? This is that imprint, that visual imprint that comes from work with our conceptual understanding. And then this gives us the opportunity then to apply this into the real world. So in this case, if we were walking into a theater and there was 25 seats in the row and there were 13 rows, I've worked with these numbers, I've decomposed these numbers. So now I can visually kind of picture what that might look like and decide how I might be able to find out how many seats there are in that theater. So this is that real world piece. So when we talk about that balance, we want to give our students the opportunity to really have a deep understanding of the math they're learning, apply that into real world situations, and balance that with the procedural skills and fluency. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about elementary math. Some of the elementary parents in the house might have heard about Gigi, right? The penguin. And Gigi is it is a unique experience that gives all students the opportunity to succeed and to become real strong problem solvers. And when we think about it, it's all the lessons are taught visually. They're without the use of language or numbers or symbols. So sometimes as parents, we think, okay, so how can I help my students with something that maybe I'm not using every day? So we want to think about that ST Math is carefully designed by neuroscientists, mathematicians, and educators to use the engaging qualities of games to build that strong conceptual understanding of math. They have a quote that says, research shows that memorizing all the different ways to solve math problems isn't enough for long-term success. But by working through challenging problems to build a deep understanding of how math concepts work, all children are capable of succeeding in math. We are all math people. So you'll have a link to this page if you haven't already visited. At the top of the page, there are some great resources. One of them says to stop telling your children you're bad at math and learning more about that and thinking about that. And further down the page, there are some really great questions. When we are watching our students play these games and interacting with Gigi and math, we might think about what are some questions that I could ask to help support them and help make sense of what they're learning. And ST Math gives us some really great questions to ask. And one of them is just, what do you notice? What are we wondering about? What are those things you can click on? And sometimes getting the wrong answer, that helps them learn the math. Because in watching Gigi explains without words, without numbers, how to get across the screen. So the ST Math puzzles, they're progressive. Sometimes it might look like what they did in first grade, but that's intentional. Those visual images carry them forward. So when you're thinking about elementary and thinking about the things we provide, we've got a balanced instruction. We're going to see ST Math, we're going to see Gigi, but additionally, Khan Academy is a great resource. It's a free online resource. Becky's going to give you more information about it, but it's there for our elementary kids. And then in Long Beach, we have an intensive intervention for some students. All sites received funding for after-school tutoring with classroom teachers. A guide has been provided for these teachers to work with our grades 3-5 students. And it really just focuses on the major learning of the grades and ways to re-engage our students with the learning. So that's just a window into elementary math. And then I'm going to pass it back to Becky to talk about secondary math.
Oops. Back one more, I think. Forward one. Nope. We're not quite in the same order. I think we might be missing a slide. Okay, I'm going to share what's on the slide before this. Just like Lisa described, we wanted to make sure that we shared with you that high quality instruction is being provided in all of our math classes across our middle schools and high schools. And on top of that, we have some intervention that is provided for some students, just like Lisa described at elementary. In middle schools, you are likely to see that students who need additional support in math may be enrolled in a second period of math. And we call those courses math development courses. What's great about those courses this year is we bought for them a really great brand new online curriculum. It's digital, not really online, meant to be done in person with a live teacher. It has fantastic visuals. So if you've seen anyone use Desmos Math, they have a full curriculum. Students in the math development classes get additional support on content that is related to what they are learning in their main class. So they may see a preview of something they're about to learn, or they may get a little bit of time reviewing something that they just learned. All right. Similarly, at the high school level, we offer something called intensified algebra. That is a 2-period Algebra 1 class that provides all of Algebra 1, but also a mindset intervention, which teaches students some strategies to help them persist through challenges, manage their thoughts and feelings about math, and learn from mistakes. The goal of that class is to get students to be successful with Algebra 1 in the 9th grade and have it finished in a year so they can move on to some more yummy math classes afterwards. I'm reminded of Amy Love's opener, how I feel about statistics and geometry, and calculus is very positive. That made me happy. Right, so our hope is that all students are successful in Algebra 1 and then can move on to take additional math courses afterwards. Okay, the next screen that you have, there you go. We're going to talk a little bit about Khan Academy. So the Khan Academy is a great supplementary resource that is available to all of our students, but also all of our parents. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how it's used in schools and how you might make use of it in supporting your children. If you want to, well, I'll just skip to secondary. Many of our secondary teachers do assign practice in Khan Academy for students. I'm so sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Many of our secondary teachers do assign practice for students using Khan Academy. What we like about it is students will go in and solve problems and they get immediate feedback on those problems. Unlike textbook problems, where a teacher would assign 30 math problems, a student could do all 30 math problems wrong and not find out until the very next day, right, that they have actually done a whole lot of incorrect practice. Right? Khan Academy, after one problem, tells the student if they're right by giving them confetti, and if they're wrong, it offers for the student to get some help. That help might be in the form of the next step, a suggested next step, or it might be in the form of a video that the student can click and they can learn how to do that mathematics and some of the thinking behind it. All right, we also like Khan Academy because the words that Salman Khan, who is teaching, might be a little bit different from what's used in class, and the problems might look a little bit different than what's used in class. Our ultimate goal is for students to be able to solve never before seen problems. And so the fact that Khan Academy doesn't always look just like the first instruction is a benefit to students. Also, we like it because students can work at their own pace, which means they can go into a previous grade level and get some more support if they need it, or they can move on ahead and work toward mastery of the course that they're currently enrolled in. Very neat. For parents, right, we like it for parents because you can get help on the math. You can learn the math alongside your student. So sometimes it's frustrating to try to help your child at the kitchen table, like Amy Love described. If you want to learn more about what the math is that your kids are learning in school, you can go into Khan Academy and watch those videos and do practice sets yourself. What's lovely is they have multiple languages supported. The entire website is available in Spanish, for example, and I think there are like 17 other languages that I'm not going to be able to name. You can set up your parent dashboard by adding your children's information into Khan Academy, and you can monitor their progress. And if you want additional information for how to get started using Khan Academy yourself or to support your children, we have a parent quick start guide linked on our math webpage. So if you go to the Long Beach Unified homepage, under the alphabet, find the letter M, find mathematics, and then on our family resources page, you can find some more information for Khan, for Gigi too, by the way. Okay, and with that, I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about middle school course sequencing and then high school course sequencing. So what you're seeing here across the top, there will be more on the bottom. What you're seeing here is our main sequence of middle school math courses, Math 6 in the 6th grade, Math 7 in the 7th grade, Math 8 in the 8th grade. Each of these classes addresses a full year of math content standards. Additionally, in all of our middle schools, we have a second accelerated sequence of math classes. Students who are coming out of 5th grade and are in GATE or Excel have met standards on CASP or earned 3s or 4s in elementary school in mathematics are automatically enrolled in that bottom row of courses. We have Math 6 accelerated, Math 7 accelerated, and Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. All three of the years of math in the top row are condensed into the 6th and 7th grade courses, right, in the bottom row. Right, so the learning is accelerated in that more math is taught in each year, which prepares students for algebra to take algebra in the 8th grade. If your student is enrolled in Math 6 and Math 7, there is an additional opportunity. If your child gets A's and B's in Math 6 and Math 7, that pink arrow pointing down shows that they can enroll in algebra in the 8th grade, and they can be successful in that. So why would you want your child to take algebra in the 8th grade? And is it okay if they don't? So the reasons why you might want your child to take algebra in the 8th grade, many of our high schools offer advanced programs that do require algebra completion in middle school. And the second reason why a parent or a child might want their child to be in algebra in 8th is that completing algebra in middle school makes it easier to complete calculus in high school. And students who want to attend a competitive university or are considering a science or a technology career might be interested in taking calculus in high school. So what if my child isn't going to take algebra in the 8th grade? Is that okay? Absolutely. Four-year public universities in California require students to get a C or higher in algebra and in geometry and in algebra 2, just 3 courses. So it's absolutely fine if students take algebra in the 9th grade. They have plenty of time to meet that requirement. Additionally, for a student that might be struggling in mathematics coming out of elementary school, getting that nice amount of time to learn 6th grade and 7th grade and 8th grade math in their entirety with a whole year of time allocated to each will build a really nice foundation and deep level of understanding of math to help them be more likely to be successful in algebra in the 9th grade. Okay, that's going to take us to our high school course sequencing. And the first click will show us the sequence of courses that you probably are the most familiar with. I know I'm very familiar with these 3 courses. This is the sequence that I took when I was in high school, and that was a lot of years ago. It's still the most common sequence of courses today in Long Beach Unified and also in the state and nationally. Those 3 courses will make me, with a C or higher, will make me eligible to apply to a UC or a CSU in the state of California. And additionally, and one more click, we now offer a really cool new course that was not around when I was in high school. It's called Introduction to Data Science. It's become incredibly popular and is now offered at 12 of our high schools. Did you know we have 12 high schools? We have more than 12 high schools in Long Beach Unified, but 12 is a lot. This course, data science, is a blend of computer science and statistics. The goal of the course is for all students to think critically about and with data. And the really nice thing about this course, one of the nice things, the content is amazing, but one of the nice things is that the sequence Algebra 1, Geometry, and Intro to Data Science will also make a student eligible, right, to apply to a UC or a CSU. So if you click one more, I've highlighted either of those sequences meets the college eligibility requirements. Okay, we've also clicked and shown you, wow, a whole lot of more courses. So Long Beach Unified School District does require all students to take 4 years of mathematics while they're in high school. We instituted this graduation requirement in response to the research that shows that students are more successful in college math when they have taken math every year of high school and not taken a year off. So you can see at a glance a whole bunch of other courses that are available to students after they complete either Intro to Data Science or Algebra 2. I'll point out a couple of popular sequences. It's very common for someone who wants to enter a science or technology career to take pre-calculus and then calculus. You see that along the bottom. And then in yellow, we also have some computer science courses on this list. While not technically math classes, we do offer math graduation credit for those classes. So if your child is interested in computer science, they're able to take that as well to meet our math grad requirement. And with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to some suggestions for how you can support your children in math. And not surprisingly, first and foremost, top on the page is help your child develop a positive math identity. And the research shows that the best way to do that is to develop a positive math identity yourself if you don't already have one. Most folks don't already have one, but many of you do. So please take every time, every chance you get to tell your child that they are a math person. And if you need some help convincing yourself that you are indeed a math person, I want you to rethink about what mathematics is. Math is more than memorization, speed, and answer getting. Not many people really love memorization, speed, and answer getting. And if you think math is all about right answers and mistakes, that can cause anxiety and make you feel bad about math. I don't even like those things. But math is more. You are a math person because you deal with money. I know you do. Budget, groceries, bills, taxes, right? Someone in your home handles all of that. It's probably you. Measurement, such as time, distance, when you work with recipes, home projects, your job. Many of you use math in your job every day, right? So the number one tip, recognize when you're doing math, share that with your child and try to help build that math identity, that's a positive identity, that you're a person, you do math. We don't say that we're not a math person. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Lisa to share some more specific tips about how to help your child with math.
So now that we've all really identified that we're math people, we want to make sure that as we're supporting our children in math, that we want to practice the skill of listening, the listening to learn, listening to your child, have them solve out loud, have them read the problem out loud. So many times we're multitasking and doing other things. And if they can just verbally tell us and communicate with us what they're doing and what they're seeing, it's a great way to listen and think about what questions we could ask them. Ask them to teach it to you. They've been in class all day. They've been learning. They can show you these strategies and how it makes sense to them. I love knowing that we can go to the Khan Academy, and we can get help with some things that maybe we just need a refresher with. Think about the games we play and puzzles we put together. All of those things work on patterning and how things connect. Those are all really stimulate the math brain. And just every day, think about those ways that we do math and help your students, I'm in teacher mode here. Think about your children and think about showing them how you do math every day and how they do math outside of school, outside of the classroom. Whether we're cooking dinner that night, we're doing chores, we're working out in the garden, we're driving somewhere, all of those things are ways to really enhance our math identity. So with that, we just wanted to leave you with some questions. So we know we shared a lot of information with you tonight. And we just want you to think about when you're back at school or you go back to your schools and talk to your teachers, just think about, how is my child doing in math? I mean, you might need to ask that question. And do they need any intervention or support? Because I heard of some things that are available. Are there any targeted or intensive interventions available that my child might participate in? Or what math courses? Becky was talking to us about that sequencing from middle school to high school. What are those courses that are available for them to take? And what resources should my child be doing outside of the school day that I can monitor? And then just how will I know that my child's making progress? So those were just some things that we thought to share with you that you might be able to ask back at your school sites. So with that, thank you for letting us talk about math. And we really enjoyed the opportunity to talk about how we're all math people.
Wow, lots and lots and lots of valuable information. And I want to remind our parents, the beauty of these presentations, the YouTube link is evergreen. So when you go tomorrow, you're wondering, what did Becky say or what did Lisa say? Go back to the YouTube presentation, check through the slides and get the information. Reach out to your child's school. And also you can reach Lisa and Becky in the math department if you have some specific questions, or you can always call Parent University. We're here to help you as well. But great information, and we have lots of questions. So Dr. Baker, would you like me to jump into the questions right now for our presenters, or you want to go ahead and share some of your information?
That'd be great. Please have Lisa and Becky answer a few things that are coming in, and then I'll do the same at the end.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's see here. Well, one of the questions, a pretty easy one to respond to, is can you please repeat the websites you recommended? I'm sure they're speaking of Khan Academy and Gigi, I think so. If you can repeat those specific websites.
I'll do Khan Academy. So Khan Academy is khanacademy.org. Students access Khan Academy by going through the portal. Right, so go to the student portal from the district homepage. Do you want to talk about Gigi, Lisa?
So on our math page on the district page, there is access to the ST Math parent resource page. You can also just type in ST Math for parents, and the resource page comes up and gives you all the information we shared.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, another question is regarding tutoring. Where can we get free or low cost tutoring? And I'm wondering if that means outside of the school, but it wasn't specified, but free or low cost tutoring for math.
Well, Khan Academy is a good place to go for additional support with math. The courses are organized by grade level. So if you click up the top left of the screen from the Khan Academy homepage, you'll see courses and you can look for the grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After 8, you'll find courses like algebra, geometry, algebra 2. And that's really where I would go first. Those courses are organized into units of instruction. If you open up the child's textbook, you can likely find a topic that's similar in Khan Academy to what they're learning about in school. And as far as live tutoring with a human, I would suggest that you contact your school for support with that.
Thank you, Becky. This question is about teachers. What training are teachers being provided at all levels to support the math? Training beyond the textbook adoption, and how is the district monitoring the effectiveness of the math lessons within our district? Mouthful.
Yeah, good questions. We've provided quite a bit of training over the years. This year has not been a big training year, as we have some difficulty this year obtaining substitutes in the current climate. And we've provided some online training for teachers, though, in the absence of the live training. Much of it has been focused on the adoption of the new state standards and the balance that is required in the standards with respect to procedural skills and fluency, conceptual understanding, and application. So that's where training has focused. Instructional strategies and routines that teachers can use to build those three things for students. How is it being supervised? We've also had some opportunity to provide training for administrators to help them know what to look for in math classes. We've used a resource called Principles to Actions, which is a book from NCTM. It's a national math organization, which calls out 8 effective math teaching practices. And our administrators have been trained to look for those practices and give feedback to their teachers when they are seeing them, and also when they are not seeing them, to encourage some adoption of some effective instructional strategies.
Wow. Not just training for the teachers, but training for the administrators as well. Thank you. You kind of touched on this, but a parent is asking, why does Long Beach push for algebra in 8th grade?
Well, that one has to be me, doesn't it? Really, primarily because we have found that so many students are ready for algebra in the 8th grade. Even when we had older standards in the state of California, back to the old 1997 standards, we were finding that 60 to 70% of students were ready for algebra in the 8th grade and were testing proficient on an assessment of Algebra 1. So really, we're meeting the needs of our students. And to say that we're pushing for algebra in the 8th grade, we're providing for algebra in the 8th grade for those students who are ready for it. I wouldn't say that we are pushing for it. As I mentioned in the slide deck, Algebra 1 in the 9th grade is absolutely fine. And if your student isn't ready for algebra in the 8th grade, a slower and deeper approach through middle school would be highly beneficial, because we don't want students to take Algebra 1 when they're not ready and end up failing it and taking it again and again and again. And it is possible to take Algebra 1. There are 8 semesters in high school. You could take it that many times. We would far rather students who got a deep foundation of mathematical skills and readiness in middle school, rather than be forced into algebra before they're ready for it.
Thank you for that clarification. A couple more questions. Who determines placement into math development courses? Is it based on grades? And what would be the class sizes of those types of courses?
The class size is going to vary a bit depending on the school site and their master schedule and their ability to fit kids into such a course. Who selects the students? For the most part, that's a school site decision. They'll look at some data to try to make a decision about what's best for students. They primarily are going to look at grades and past performance in mathematics. And when a test score is available, they'll use test scores. They will listen to parents and families. So if you would like for your child to be enrolled in an additional period of math, I would encourage you to reach out to the school, perhaps the school counselor, and make that request and sit down to have a meeting and share your reasons why you would like such a thing.
Thank you. And the last math-related question is, about how much homework should my child be getting each night?
That's a super sticky one. I think I have heard something like 10 minutes per grade level, something like that. I know that there's a lot of research that shows homework isn't particularly effective at the elementary level, and that it gains effectiveness or benefit to students as they move out of elementary school, so middle and high. As a rule of thumb, you're going to have to judge your own child because every kid is different. But 30 minutes, an hour as they get in higher level math, you're going to see students in calculus and AP statistics are going to probably spend longer. That's a sticky question.
Yeah, it's kind of individual. I do have a shout out I want to share, not a question. One of the parents is sharing that her son has received a lot of support in math from his school. She's saying that his math teachers have been very nice. I want to make sure I get it right. Very supportive, but it's been challenging for his teachers to give him an individual feedback. He or she wishes that they had been getting some more of this information when he was placed into accelerated math classes. Finally, they got a tutor and things are going well. So shout out to our math department. Dr. Baker, we do have one question for you and related to COVID. Just kind of a general question. Is there a general sense about when some of the COVID restrictions might be lifted?
Oh, I wish I could predict that. If I haven't learned anything, or if I've learned something in the last 18 months, is not to make predictions like that. However, what I will say is that the health data in our community is improving on a daily basis. And we have seen really steep drops in COVID cases. And what that leads me to believe is that our health officials who watch that so carefully are going to make good decisions relative to those drops happening in the community. So can't predict. Wish I had a magic ball that I could see into the future for that. I'm hoping the same as everyone else.
Thank you so much. Those are the questions we have for now. We may get more after the presentation, and we promise to share them with each of you as they come in. And so, Dr. Baker, take it away.
Well, I just want to thank Lisa and Becky for just all that you've shared with us tonight. I was reminded of so many important aspects of what happens in our classrooms based on what you shared, and so many tools for parents. A couple things that I just want to add to what has already been shared is really timely information tonight. We just finished the semester. So secondary students have grades and they have information coming from teachers about their courses. Our elementary students and elementary families are getting ready in the next couple of weeks, getting ready for parent conferences. And so it's a really good time to have those questions in hand and to think, now that you're curious and you have some information about the district math courses and programming, what might you ask about your student when you interact either with a teacher or in a parent conference where you're learning about the successes and maybe challenge areas for your students. And then just want to reinforce, you heard several times references to tutoring and supports. We want you to be asking for those supports at your school. We have many teachers that are participating in small group tutoring after school. We have some online companies that our schools have contracted with for tutoring. And so be curious and ask at your school, either a teacher or in the office, what is available at your school. And then the last thing I wanted to reinforce, and Dr. Hale shared this when she introduced Becky and Lisa, is that this group of our curriculum staff, the math office, not only do they provide training, and that was a great question that one of you asked about the training that's provided for teachers, but even when they can't provide training, the resources that our teachers have access to in Long Beach Unified are terrific. They have their unit guides, their course outlines, links to things that take them out to high quality materials, activities and assessments. And so we're so fortunate in Long Beach that teachers have great support and resources to use. They do not have to make it up. They have everything that they need. And then they get to add things that really draw in their own expertise or interest around the standards that they're teaching. So we are so fortunate in Long Beach for this team and for the way that they go about supporting teachers. And so thank you again. Let's give virtual shout outs and high fives to Becky and Lisa for the great information and tools that they have shared for you this evening. And so I'll close with a few things. You know, I always like to make a pitch for upcoming activities. And so even before this slide changes, the next Parent Connection is March 22nd. And I'm going to say fingers crossed that we'll be in person. As soon as we can make that decision, we'll have information out to you. We will continue to live stream even if we go in person so that it's recorded and everyone has access to it, even if you're not in person with us. And now for upcoming engagement activities. The first is starting this Thursday. Our Board of Education will be hosting a series of community visioning meetings. These are opportunities for you as caregivers, parents, or members of the community. Next slide, please. To come and talk about your vision for students. 3 questions will be used. It's the same format for all 5 sessions. So you can come once. If you decide you want to come more than once, it's the same format. The questions will be around hopes and dreams for the future of Long Beach Unified and the way that we serve children in our community. The first is this Thursday at 6 p.m. at Browning High School in the community room. It's a working workshop style. You'll be asked to engage, not to just listen. You'll be participating in this visioning workshop. We'll use a little technology and actually some chart paper and Post-it notes and things that we think will engage all of you. The next thing I want to remind you about is the last of the kindergarten festivals. Last week, we had over 600 community members attend a virtual kindergarten festival information session. March 5th, the last of the kindergarten festivals will be in person from 9 to noon at Bircham Elementary School. And in the slides that were put on the YouTube page, you can get to the link. It shows you the same flyer that you're seeing right up there on the screen. And then 2 more things that we just don't want to leave you without tonight. One is a reminder for those of you who have 5th graders, you're in the process of making the choice for 6th grade. That's a February 21st deadline. Great to contact your school. If you're looking at this thinking, I have a 5th grader and I don't know what this is, head right into your school tomorrow because the counselors at all of our elementary schools are prepared to support you in this process. There's also a link here to get more information, the timeline, and resources that are in the slides that are available to you. And then lastly, we went virtual for our education celebration this year. And even though we couldn't be in person, it was a great opportunity and it's still there right from our district homepage. You can click right at the top, celebrate the possibilities and see what's taking place at all of our elementary and middle and K-8 schools. If you want to watch a video, hear staff talk about their programs, including specific videos around our dual language or dual immersion programs. So lots going on in Long Beach Unified School District each and every day. And we're so thankful for the work that takes place in service to our students and that you spent an hour and 10 minutes with us tonight. We're really glad that you've been here tonight. So I thank you for being parents in the Superintendent's Parent Connection. Let's bring a friend the next time so we even expand those who are here with us, learning about the important aspects of our learning acceleration and support plan in Long Beach Unified School District, and walking away with tools that you can use starting tonight when we get off of the meeting. So thank you, and I'll turn it back to Alyssa to close us out.
I just want to echo everything you said, Dr. Baker. Thank you to our wonderful presenters this evening. Thank you to our Parent University team. Thank you to our marketing staff. And thank you most of all to our families, our parents, our caregivers, our guardians, our students for engaging with us tonight and learning more about the math programs in Long Beach Unified School District. We're grateful, and we'll see you soon. Take care.